You're listening to The Jake Asman Show on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
Here we go on a Tuesday morning. This is The Jake Asman Show here at the SportsMap Radio Network. 9 days away until the NFL Draft, and Lion season remains in full swing. And I can't even call it Lion season anymore. It's now speculation without any evidence season, because that's what we have here with today's lead story with the draft. Jason La Canfora quotes an anonymous AFC executive in a story he wrote on CBSSports.com. Here's the quote. "Are we sure that Wilson is going second? Is it written in stone somewhere? Seriously, have they come out and said it? Maybe Wilson is the pick. But you can't tell me he's absolutely a better prospect than Justin Fields. We would take Fields there at 2. What if the Jets do take Fields? Then San Fran takes Wilson. Then New England comes up to 4 and gets Jones. There's no way that could happen, question mark? Let's look at this quote and let's examine it. The Jets for months have been linked to Zach Wilson. Well, why is that? Because people in the know have put it out there from the BYU side of things and from the Jets side of things. And we have concrete evidence as well, or as close to it as possible, that the Jets are taking Zach Wilson with the second pick. I might have to quit my job if they don't, after the amount of content that we have produced on this show, examining the top of the draft and acting as if it's a foregone conclusion, Lawrence 1, Wilson 2. But there's evidence to back up that claim. The Jets are taking Zach Wilson. Here's example 1. Joe Douglas was explicably asked during his press conference after the Jets traded Sam Darnold if the comments Steve Young made on radio, where Steve Young said that members of the coaching staff had told him that the Jets are taking Wilson and they've already started to recruit the family of Zach Wilson. Joe Douglas was asked about those comments, if that means, well, that they're accurate, if that's true. And take a listen to the full exchange from Jets general manager Joe Douglas when asked about the Pro Football Hall of Famer and BYU alum comments about Zach Wilson.
What did you think of Steve Young's comments on the radio? Apparently he did some detective work and spoke to some members of the coaching staff, and he said the Jets are, quote, committed to Zach Wilson.
Steve's plugged into BYU pretty well.
Done. And then he went on to say, we had a great pro day at BYU. It was great to meet with Zach's representatives. Steve's plugged into BYU pretty well. Play it one more time, Ron. One more time. Once again, this is Rich Cimini, point blank, asking Jets GM Joe Douglas about Steve Young basically telling the world Wilson's the pick for the Jets.
What did you think of Steve Young's comments on the radio? Apparently he did some detective work and spoke to some members of the coaching staff, and he said the Jets are, quote, committed to Zach Wilson.
Steve's plugged into BYU pretty well.
That's about as close to, yeah, he's our guy. Why are we hiding it? As you can get. And then here's evidence number 2. Adam Schefter, after the Darnold trade was made on ESPN's Get Up, he was asked by Mike Greenberg if Wilson was, quote, a lock to go to the Jets. And Schefter, who's not going to come out and say this unless it is a lock, goes, I sent Zach Wilson a text yesterday. I said, welcome to New York, Zach, officially. That's about as far as I can go right now. So what are we doing here? An anonymous AFC executive who's not plugged in kind of just throws this out there and we run with it? Zach Wilson's going to be the Jet quarterback. Now, we could debate whether or not that's the right pick. I've been on the record that I'm good with Fields and I'm good with Wilson. I think they're both exceptional prospects. I don't understand the perceived slide for Justin Fields. I think if the Niners don't take Fields at 3, it's a mistake. I've said that over and over again. But the idea that the Jets are not going to take Zach Wilson, come on, stop it. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's been too many leaks and too much connection to Wilson and the Jets to Wilson for them to fool us all and take Justin Fields at this point. Not when Schefter's coming out and texting Zach Wilson, welcome to New York. The only thing that would stop Zach Wilson from going to the Jets is if like he gets arrested or something crazy happens or there's some sort of medical issue we're unaware of. And that's just not the case. They've looked at the medicals. And I don't have the sourcing that, Adam Schefter has, but the people I've spoken with have told me that Wilson's the guy for whatever that's worth, and we'll see. Those are the same people that told me there was no chance Sam Darnold was going to be back, and I think that was obvious. But these people have been right. So when you start to hear Anonymous AFC Executive and this and that, always think, where's the source coming from? Like, who's leaking that? Like, what if this anonymous executive is trying to, cause a stir at the top of the draft for the Jets? The Jets don't leak things. That's the thing. Steve Young coming out and saying what he said all but assures that Zach Wilson's the guy. All but assures that Wilson's going to be the Jet quarterback. Now, the bigger discussion is what happens after that. Because for a while, the draft started with the Jets at 2. Do they stick with Sam? Do they trade out and build around Darnold? We knew that was not going to happen. They make the trade, send Darnold to Carolina, and now Wilson's the guy. The bigger question is what happens at number 3? Because that's where the draft starts. I am not convinced that the Niners are taking Mac Jones. Until they actually take Mac Jones, I need to see it to believe it. I'm not saying Mac Jones can't be a good quarterback. I just think when you trade up that high to get a player that may or may not be available at 12, I need to see it to believe it if that's truly the guy you're taking. And I'm probably one of the few that won't criticize the Niners if they took Mac Jones. I would take Fields, but my standpoint this whole time has been, look, if you're going to take Mac Jones, you believe in the guy, you better be great. Kyle Shanahan, offensive guy, he's going to get his pick of a quarterback. He's earned that. But I don't see Mac Jones being that much better than Jimmy Garoppolo. So I don't think you're really upgrading that much. Maybe Mac Jones is more durable, but is that worth trading 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick to move up to get maybe the third best quarterback? I don't know. I think you look at Justin Fields, and when you're drafting that high and you move up heaven and earth to get a guy, don't you want to take a player that has the highest ceiling? Are we supposed to believe that Mac Jones has a higher ceiling than Justin Fields? How's that possible? So that's where I push back on that. I don't see it that way. The draft starts at 3 with the Niners. The idea that the Jets are not taking Wilson is long gone. The only debate was Wilson versus Darnold, and the Jets answered that by trading Sam when they did. But number 3 is fascinating because the same people that told you over and over again it's Mac Jones, Mac Jones, Mac Jones, a lot of those people starting to come out and say something a little bit different. Hedge their bet, so to speak. Hedge the take. Move the goalposts. I would take Fields if I'm San Fran. What I wouldn't do is take Trey Lance. I think there's too big of a risk taking a guy that played FCS football and started only 17 games. Played 1 game last year in a run-first offense. I'm not saying Trey Lance can't be good, but man, that is a boom or bust type of pick if you're the San Francisco 49ers and you're taking Trey Lance. To me, Lance makes more sense going to a team like the Falcons because he could sit behind Matt Ryan for maybe even 2 years. And you might say, well, what if the Niners took Lance and he sat behind Jimmy G for a year? The way Jimmy G always gets hurt, he's going to end up playing. I think if you want to take Fields and have him sit behind Garoppolo for a year, that's not the worst idea. I don't know. Lance, I just wouldn't be surprised if a guy that played 1 game and has started 17 career games in his life and has played 1 full season at the FCS level is going before a guy in Justin Fields that against Clemson threw 6 touchdown passes with a busted rib and came back in the game. I'd be surprised. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I'd be surprised. But as far as Wilson and the Jets, despite what this anonymous AFC executive is saying, yes, we are sure Zach Wilson will be the Jet quarterback. And that has all been confirmed, essentially, by Joe Douglas, who I'd imagine would know, and Adam Schefter as well. That's the case. And I bet you we'll find out after the fact that the Jets were in love with Wilson going back to like January. Like, I bet you that gets leaked out to the national media after the fact. When the Jets try and explain their love for Zach Wilson, we'll get all the details on when they fell in love with him and, Was it the bowl game? What moment did it click that he's our guy? You'll hear all about that. Jet fans will remember the same stuff came out with Sam Darnold after the draft in 2018. So we shall see. One thing I can promise you, though, next Thursday, Trevor Lawrence 1, Zach Wilson 2. I have no idea what's happening from the third pick on. It could be a wild draft 9 days away from tonight. 800-224-2004 is the number. If you want to weigh in on the phones, you also could tweet me. I'm on Twitter at Jake Asman. That's Jake Asman. Follow me there. Tweet me your thoughts. Is Wilson a lock to go to the Jets? I think so. What's your take there? Plus, Brian Cashman spoke yesterday, and, well, he said we haven't played well. Duh. We'll talk about the comments that Cashman made when reacting to the Yankees' 5-10 start coming up next as well. Stay tuned. Jake Asman with you. This is a Tuesday morning show right here on Sports Map Radio.